Hi BookTube! My name is Sarah and welcome to the Bookish Knitter. Today I am coming to you with my January 2023 wrap-up and stats video. Yay! New year, we're starting it off on the right foot. I know last year I missed doing a lot of these, and I literally missed doing them. Like, I enjoy doing these wrap-ups, but they were always the videos that kind of fell to the wayside if I got busy. But I am really trying to get on the ball of getting videos filmed on the weekend for you guys. So, you know, it's not that this is stressful, because if this ever became stressful, I would totally stop doing it, to be completely honest. But I love doing these videos, but sometimes I find like I run out of time. So I have time on the weekend. Let's get stuff filmed on the weekend for you guys. So here we are with my reading stats and wrap-up stuff for the month of January. In case you're new to my channel, welcome. I've gotten a bunch of new subscribers, so thank you very much. I go through my stats, I compile some fun stats, and I go through all of those, and then I talk about my top 5 books of the month. I don't go through every book that I've read, because I do talk about all those in my weekly reading vlogs, but I do like to go through my top 5, because I think those are the ones that are absolutely worth mentioning. So, I read 16 books in the month of January. Big thumbs up on that one. For my Goodreads goal, I am 4 books ahead of schedule as of the 1st of February. I am at 16 out of 150 books completed, of course, and that's roughly about 11% done for my goal. So yay. In terms of star rating, I read 6 3-star books, 3 3.5-star books, 4 4-star books, 2 4.5-star books, and I did read a 5-star book in January, and I'm very excited. My average star rating for the month was 3.66, which is exciting. In terms of the types of books that I read, I was reading a little bit of everything, guys, which I think is kind of great. I read 3 contemporary romances, 3 mystery books, 2 cozy mystery books, 2 romantic suspense, 2 historical fiction, 1 middle grade fiction, 1 inspirational romantic suspense, and a YA contemporary novel, which is exciting. I like to keep track of the category romance books that I read, which are the Harlequin books, like this, similar to this, because my goal is to kind of read, like, at the end of the year, I'd like to have like a third of what I read be category romance, because I have so many of them, and I am trying to work my way through them. So yeah, by aiming for a third, like 33%, is pretty good. So for the month of January, it was 31%, which is very, very close. If I'd read one more, I would have tipped over that 33%. So I read 2 intrigue novels, 1 special edition, 1 love-inspired suspense, and 1 historical novel. In terms of the age range of the books that I read 11 books geared towards an adult audience, 3 for a YA audience, and 2 for a middle grade audience. This is a new stat that I started compiling, and I think it's a lot of fun to kind of see where books are taking place. And I have a list here of where all of the books that I read took place in. So 2 of the books that I read took place in Alaska, 3 of them in California. So these are not like in order of like the most to the least. They're just kind of in alphabetical order in a way of how I have them written on my sheet. But you're going to find that California and I'm missing. Oh, I think I put one down as California. It should be Connecticut. California and Connecticut. Oh, no, it would be. Never mind. Sorry, I'm talking out loud here. But that California and Connecticut you're going to find going forward, and Illinois are going to be featured a lot because of the fact that I'm doing rereads of my Back to My Childhood books. The Sweet Valley books take place in California. The Babysitters Club takes place generally in Connecticut. And Nancy Drew, in the original Yellow Spine books, I don't think it's ever mentioned where River Heights actually is. It's like Springfield for The Simpsons, where it could be any state. But in the books that came out in the 80s, it is mentioned that it's close to Chicago, which is, of course, in Illinois. So, in my mind, the Nancy Drew series, if she's at home, you know, in her own location doing one of the books is located, you know, in River Heights, it takes place in Illinois. Anyway, long explanation. So 3 books in California, 3 books in Illinois, 1 in Montana, 1 in Nebraska, 1 in New Hampshire, 2 in New York State, 1 in Ohio, 1 in British Columbia, Canada, and a book that took place in Italy. Love it. That to me is just so much fun. In terms of when the books were originally published, I read 1 book from the 1940s, 3 from the 1980s, 2 from the 1990s, 1 from the 2000s, 2 from the 2010s, 1 book published in 2020, 1 book published in 2021, and 5 books that were published last year in 2022. In terms of how I consume the books, 13 ebooks, and 3 mass market paperbacks. I did listen to a couple of the books on audio for a bit, but it wasn't full start to finish on audio, so I didn't count it as listening to a full audiobook. I did the majority of the reading of those books as an ebook. I just happened to pick up the audio while I was like at work doing things and what have you. All 16 of the books that I read were full-length novels. 12 of the books were part of a series, and 4 of them were standalone novels. Of those 12 that were part of a series, 3 of them were new series that I started, and 9 were part of our ongoing series, which is great. I read a grand total of 3,654 pages in the month of January. Works out to about 118 pages a day, so not too shabby. A couple fun little random stats here, guys. The highest rated book on Goodreads, so not the book that I rated the highest, but the book that overall readers have rated the highest on Goodreads, was Framing the Marshal by Sherry Stover, which has a 4.55 Goodreads rating. This is a love-inspired suspense novel. I didn't love this one. I only gave it 3 stars, but clearly everybody else loved it, so that's interesting. The lowest rated book on Goodreads was Promises by Francine Pascal. That's not generally a surprise. When it comes to the lowest rated, they are often a Sweet Valley Babysitters Club, and I think it's just because most people read them now for nostalgic value, and you're not going to rate them really, really high. You're either going to rate them 5 stars or you're going to rate them like 3 stars. Like, there's no in between, at least from what I've found. And this had an average rating of 3.45 stars. I gave this one, again, 3 stars. The longest book I read in terms of page length was Moose and Murder by Elizabeth Logan, which came in at 304 pages. And the shortest book I read was The New Girl by Francine Pascal, Sweet Valley Twins book, and this came in at 105 pages. And last but not least, my top 5 books of the month. And as I always say, I go from least most favorite to most favorite. So coming in spot number 5 was a book I finished right at the end of the month, and I read this book in a day, you guys. And that was A Dog Called Valentine by Roxanne Snopek. I gave this book 4 stars. I adored this book. It's about a dog named Valentine who gets dropped off at the shelter. He was bought for somebody as a Valentine's Day gift. The person, they ended up splitting up, so that, you know, they ended up dropping him off at the shelter, and he kind of went from home to home. Nobody properly trained him, so he was a bit of a destructive dog. Let's put it that way. And, you know, the woman who works at the shelter, or volunteers at the shelter, she decided to foster him until she could get him, you know, ready for his forever home, if you will. And of course, she falls in love with Valentine. You know, it's an adorable story about this woman and her dog, but she also falls in love with a local guy. And she's out walking Valentine one day. The dog takes off because she can't control the dog. And he runs to this man, and this man is actually a former RCMP officer. This is the book that takes place in British Columbia, Canada, which is very exciting. The author herself is from BC as well, so that's exciting. But yeah, this is a really, really heartfelt story. There are some points that actually made me like tear up a bit, and it had to do with some of the dogs and stuff that's happened. You know, it was really, really good, you guys. I loved it. Do yourself a favor and read it. Next up was Secret of Dead Man's Coulee by B.J. Daniels. I gave this book 4 stars as well. Harlequin intrigue novel. Coulee, for those of you who don't know, means, what does it mean again? Like gorge, or like, you know, area of Earth where there is no Earth anymore. I want to say like the Grand Canyon, but much smaller. So yeah, so this one was really good. I mean, B.J. Daniels does these so well. This is a slightly older novel. It's the first in a series. And yeah, I mean, so there's a girl who takes off one day and she finds this missing woman. She finds this plane that crashed like 30 years ago. And there's a secret behind this plane and how it ended up crashing. There's a dead body, well, skeleton now, in the plane. And she's working with the local sheriff to try and find out what happened. And there's a relationship between the both of them. And it was really, really good. Really good. Highly recommend this one. I always recommend B.J. Daniels books because she is fantastic. Next up, another intrigue novel, my friends. We have Dark Water Disappearance by the great Katie Richards. This I gave 4.5 stars to. And this one was the story of this woman who comes back to her this small town that she kind of grew up in. And she's fixing up her grandfather's house, which was willed to her. And a dead body washes up behind the house, which is never a good thing. Horrible for resale value. But anyway, she ends up working with the local well, he's not local. He's also from the town when they grew up together. They were good friends. They actually dated in high school. So this is a bit of a second chance romance as well. He's now a private investigator. And he's there and he's kind of trying to help figure out what's going on. He's also searching for his missing sister. There's kind of a lot going on in this book, but Katie Richards does a great, great job on this one. I really, really liked it. Highly recommend. Coming in spot number 2 is Death of a Red Hot Rancher by Mimi Granger. This was a cozy mystery. First in a new series. I really like this one, you guys. So our main character owns a romance bookstore, and all of the different rooms are like for different, there's like the contemporary romance room, the historical romance room, the erotic romance room. And there's a guy in town who is a red hot rancher. He's like supposedly has dated every woman in town. He knows he's all that in a bag of chips. He, you know, is a former model. He did all these commercials for like some big truck, and then he ends up dead. So the whole thing is to try and find out what happened. And our main character, Lizzie, her aunt is being not framed, but she is one of the ones who is kind of being looked at for his murder. So, of course, Lizzie is trying to figure out what actually happened so her aunt doesn't end up going to jail. So yeah, I really, really like this one. There is a second book out in the series that I'm looking forward to reading. And each of the books kind of deals with a bit of a romance trope. So in this one, it is that rancher cowboy type element. In the second book, it's like a mail order bride situation, which I'm very excited about reading. I think it's going to be great. And coming in spot number 1, you guys, my favorite book of the month, Falling for His Fake Girlfriend by Shannon Stacy. I loved this book so much. I talked about it so much when I finished it. I gave it 5 stars. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. It's about a woman who, she is neurodivergent. She has ADHD, like, you know, and she probably a couple other things going on as well. She works at her family's funeral parlor, which I thought was very interesting. She doesn't live in the funeral parlor, like in the house, because it's a small town. So very much like the movie My Girl, where, you know, the house is like the funeral parlor. She lives like in the garage, like above the garage in an apartment. But this gentleman moved in next door, and he's the new librarian in town. And people are kind of giving him a bit of a hard time because he has like a male librarian. It's a very small town, very old-fashioned thinking. He's a male librarian. He clearly doesn't, you know, he's going to be kind of some sort of deviant. And, you know, he's going to, you know, proposition, you know, our wives and our girlfriends and our, you know, because he's single. So when him and our female lead, and I'm sorry, I'm completely drawing a blank on their names, when they meet up together at this bar one night, she says to him, she's like, hey, we should do this. We should pretend a fake date. And then the town will leave you alone. And then once you've gotten a bit more of a reputation, we can split up, go our separate ways, and everybody's happy. So, of course, they end up falling for each other during the fake dating. Guys, this book was so, 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 so good. I absolutely loved it. I mean, Shannon Stacy is such a great author. This book was fantastic. I highly recommend it. Please do yourself a favor and read it. So anyway, guys, that is it for this video today. I do hope that you enjoyed it. Please let me know in the comments below what was your favorite book that you read in the month of January. And until my next video, everybody, take care and happy reading. Thank you all so much for watching. Bye, guys.